Right, now handing over to the main event.
That's you, Adam.
You don't hear much from him, but when he says something, he means it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Rogers.
Can you guys hear me? Do I need a microphone? Gav? Gav, can you hear me? Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you, Mark, for those kind words. I'm not sure I'm going to follow that. It's actually very overwhelming to think that you and Jules have been behind most of what we've seen today. So thanks again from me and Sophie. Really appreciate that. I'd also like to extend a quick thanks to Rory for attending on his birthday. Really appreciate it. Your table pretty much spoiled it, but we've got a nice bottle of champagne here. I think we've given it to the wrong table there. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start by thanking everyone on behalf of my wife and I. It's been a huge effort to be here today. Guests have come from far and wide. From Bournemouth to Bondi, China over there, to Canada with Kemi. You must really love me and Sophie to make such an effort, or in the case of Kemi Wells, your boyfriend gets cheap flights.
Here anyway.
As I stand here today with you all looking at me, I know that everyone in this room is thinking the same two things. One, how did I get such a beautiful bride in Sophie Rogers? Because let's be honest, she looks incredible today. Yeah. And two, you're all thinking, I'm pretty sure Nick was and still is gay. Well, I'm going to address these 2 points. I'm going to tell you how I landed such a beautiful bride, and with regards to being gay, no comment. On a more serious note, I'd like to begin by thanking my amazing parents. My mother has drummed into me from a young age that to be a real man, I needed to respect the opposite sex, be very well educated, polite, dignified, and mature and respectful. And without blowing my own trumpet, I can safely say I definitely tick all those boxes. So thank you, Mum, for setting a wonderful example and being a true inspiration to me. My father has been equally as influential in my life. He supports everything I do. He taught me how to be practical, and he stood on the sideline of every single sports game I've ever played, come rain or shine. His can-do attitude has really rubbed off on me. On the flip side, it's thanks to him that I now have the Rogers hereditary hair loss. Combined, Jill and Terry have made me the man I am today, and I think that's one of the reasons I've been blessed with such a wonderful wife in Sophie Rogers. Now, to welcome my new parents, all 4 of them. Christmas has now got very expensive. It's going to be totally worth it. I have 4 new caring, supportive and generous beyond-belief parents, and I couldn't be happier. The support they've given us has been well and truly overwhelming, and it's safe to say that everything you see here today would not have happened without them. So, Mum and both my mum-in-laws, we've got a lovely little gift here to say thank you. And so if you'd like to come up slowly. So this is for you, Mum. Yes, thanks very much, guys. Small token from me and Sophie there. I remember being on my way to meet Sophie's family for the first time and asking her what they would expect me to be like. I was thinking to myself, did I need to worry that Mark was an army-style dad who wanted someone a little bigger to protect her? Was Jerry a car man who would look at me pulling up in my Camp Blue Saxo? Or were they into manual labour who thought, who's this guy working in some creative industry? Sophie looked at me and smirked, and she went on to explain that I just needed to be myself and they would love me. And she couldn't have been more right. I was welcomed with open arms by all members of the family, especially Jules and Ellie, who put up with my weird eating habits, my multiple allergies, and the fact that at any family gathering, no matter what's happening, I have my eye on a football game. You've all done a great job bringing up Sophie, making her the fine woman I got to marry today, so thank you very much. I'd like everyone to raise a quick glass to my parents as well as my new family who have contributed enormously to this day, in particular Mark and Jules for hosting this wedding breakfast and for having been on a stressful journey since the very start. So everyone, to Mark, Jules, Ellie, Jerry, Jill and Terry. Right, on to the bridesmaids, who look stunning today. Thanks for all the support you've given Sophie. She had such an amazing time on a very expensive hen do. For weeks on end in her sleep she was muttering the name Brian, Brian over again. I can only assume this was her stripper. It must have been nice for her to actually feel some muscles for once. A special thank you must also go to Hannah and Charlotte for being on call day and night during this process. I, at the time, was pretending to be asleep, and Sophie has been relying on you very much so. You've both appreciated all your help, and we couldn't have done it without you, and you've been there since the beginning, since the engagement. So thanks very much, Hannah and Charlotte. Now, on to my ushers and best men. Adam Stanier provided one of the best stag do's ever. I came home a broken man and enjoyed every single part of it, apart from the infamous three-man lift gag. Chris Black, I will never forgive you for this, mate. As for my other best man, Andrew, I'm going to save you the embarrassment of telling the story about how you missed 2 of the 3 days of my stag. Because you turned up to the airport with your son's passport. You managed to confuse that face with this face. Seriously though, bro, it's actually thanks to you, Lydia and Winston, that I'm still here today. You don't know this, but it's just after the birth of Winston that I saw how perfect life could be and how I wanted a similar life with Sophie, who at the time I was only just friends with. The next day I made it my mission to get the woman of my dreams and eventually have a family just like you. I saw how it completed you and how proud we were of all of you, so thank you very much, Andrew. Now, on to my wife Sophie. We met in a very, very romantic place, Woolworths in Bournemouth in 2010. And I should have seen the warning signs. Woolworths ran out of money and went bankrupt. And after a few years of Sophie and her expensive habits, so will I. Developed a pretty strong relationship at uni, where I followed her around and she played this game where she pretended not to know me. It was hilarious at the time. Despite many subtle advances, I really wasn't getting anywhere. My friends, family, and even Sophie's friends had to put up with me saying how much I was in love with her for years after years. And they always used to say to me, you're never going to get with her, give up, it's not going to happen. So I'm going to call on some random testimonials today, just to see what it was like and how I was... I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it, I'm sorry. Sorry. Yes, as I was saying, Rory. I'm going to call on some random testimonials. These people don't know I'm going to approach them. They're going to just talk from the heart about what it was like to be with me at uni. So let's start with Steph, who went to university with
So, Steph, I've known Nick since uni. When he wasn't pulling all the female female freshers. One female written in here extra. And pumping iron in the gym. He used to spend his time telling me how much he loved Sophie and how beautiful she was. Despite our multiple warnings, she eventually gave in. I now see what a perfect couple they are. I love them. Sorry.
I'll pick out Charlotte. Charlotte is Sophie's friend from home. Why don't you say whatever you think was on top of your head?
Introduced me to Nick in 2008 when he was not generally being good looking and uber fashionable. He spent nights out telling me how much he wanted to be with Sophie and how he'd treat her like a princess if he ever managed to get with her. Again, despite our warning, she eventually gave in. I now see what a perfect couple they are. How wrong I was.
Anyone else? Ollie, can you say anything, mate?
So I wrote these words myself. Nick first mentioned Sophie to me when he came back from uni for a football game, when he was not scoring all of the goals. He would spend his weekend talking about this woman of his dreams and how much of a great personality she had. We never thought she would give in, but fair play to him for succeeding. I now see what I'm doing. And how bloody wrong I was to suggest that you couldn't get her. Sorry for ever doubting you.
Why don't I just pick a family member? So last but not least, my sister Michelle. Let's see what you've got on top of your head as well.
Nick first mentioned Sophie to me when we went to university together. He used to come over to mine and ask if we could study together, but I knew that what he really meant is that we wanted to watch Sex in the City DVDs and steal my tinted moisturiser. I used to sit there for hours pining after the girl he described as his soulmate and future Miss Rogers. I never should have doubted you, bro. You got her in the end, and I'm also sorry for doubting you.
Thank you guys for those heartfelt testimonials. I accept all of your apologies. So, eventually after that, we went on our first date in 2009, followed by our second date 3 years later in 2009. I remember it vividly. It was a snow day in London and Sophie kept me waiting for 30 minutes at the bus stop before we headed out for dinner. It was during dinner that I breached the subject of who she'd been dating for the past 3 years. I wanted to know what I was up against and how I could better it. My competitive nature really took over. She sat and thought and began with, There was the international pop star who fell in love with me and offered to take me on holiday, the world famous football player who begged to go on a date with me, and the primetime TV star who knocked on my door after a work event in Manchester on the hope that I would let him in. I took a massive gulp and wondered, how on earth could I compete with this? And I decided to be on top form at all times to win over the girl of my dreams. I spent the next few dates showering her with gifts, talking about things I really did not care about, and I even once missed a Tottenham game to spend time with her. It was 1 year later that I found out who this big competition was. You're probably thinking, was it Robbie Williams, David Beckham, or even someone like Dermot O'Leary? No. These three world-famous men were washed-up pop star Howard from Take That. Howard!
Howard? Howard's there.
Never too late, so.
The world-famous footballer was the 50-year-old drunk we all know as Gazza. And the prime-time TV star was none other than loudmouth Jeremy Kyle.
Or scraping the barrel.
I know. Sophie really knew what she was doing and she played the game perfectly. I jumped through every hoop going, so I have to applaud her for that. I know that she's always going to keep me on my toes and I'm looking forward to it. As time passed, I quickly learned that the secret to our relationship was compromise. Now, for all you single men out there, I want you to listen to this because you need to compromise to bag someone as beautiful as this. Example 1. I wanted to buy a flat in London and she wanted to buy in Brighton. I love and was raised in and around London and loved my convenient 20-minute cycle to work. We talked about it for a while and in the end we compromised like couples do. So I sold my bike, bought a flat in Brighton, and now I do the 4-hour round trip to work every day on the train. Another example is when I told Sophie we did not have money for a new car. I was learning to fly to obtain my private pilot's licence. Given our lack of funds, she would have to settle on driving my perfectly acceptable Citroen Saxo. We talked about it for a while, and in the end, we got to a lovely compromise. She now drives around in a beautiful BMW Mini, while the only flying I see is when she flies off the handle at me. That, people, is what we call compromise, and I plead with every man here to wear their trousers in their relationship just like I do. Seriously though, Sophie, after all that, I promise that we're going to have fun for the rest of our lives and in everything we do. When I proposed to you in Paris and we visited all the amazing places our tables are named after, I promised that I'd put a smile on your face every day, and I will. It's really not lost on me what a privilege it is to marry a woman as amazing as you, and I'll never let you or our families down. What I love is that I see another side to you most people don't. I love everything about you, from when we wake up in the morning and joke around, and you're so caring it's beyond belief. And what I really love is that you better me and you make me fulfil my potential. Before all of this, I was a cocky, arrogant, moody git. Now I am more positive, family focused, enthusiastic and humble for everything I have, and it's all down to you. You've changed me for the better because after years of procrastinating, the man you wanted me to become, I became. I'll be your perfect husband, the perfect father to our children, and give you everything you are meant to have and deserve. Sophie Rogers, I could not love you anymore. You're truly stunning, the most beautiful princess I've ever seen. You are flawless and will remain so in my eyes forever and ever and ever. Thank you very much. So if everyone could raise a glass to my new wife.
Cheers.
To my two best men. One is a great judge of character and sees the good in people. The other is known to confuse fact with fantasy. So I'm going to let you guys be the judge. Thank you very much.